So let me move these on. So the same for all competencies, you're gonna say, is it okay if I touch you? Especially for the ROHO fitting, because you have to literally feel the ischial tuberosity of your patient. So you've been warned, you're okay if I touch you like that. Nobody wants their teacher, nor does anyone want to touch their teacher's ischial tuberosity. We just get through it. Okay, so we're gonna do seat height first. So seat height is bottom of the heel to the posterior thigh plus 2 inches. So bottom of the heel, and you're doing it on the inches side. The posterior thigh, it's really kind of like the back of your knee, so it's just right here. Okay, so you have 18 plus 2 inches. So why do you think I have to add 2 inches?
So your feet up.
So your feet don't drag. Correct. Seat width is your hip to your other hip plus 2 inches. So you just finish with that. So I want to make sure, normally I'd stand right in front and do it, but I want you guys to see what I'm doing. So the mistake that people make when they do this is you will do, and this is wrong, you take the measuring tape and you try to do a rounded measurement like this, okay? That's wrong because a wheelchair is not round at the seat. So you have to really try to do this linear eyeball like this of the widest point. So it's not hip to hip, it's just actually when you're sitting, the widest point here to the widest point here.
So it's more like the thigh.
It's more like the thigh. So for women, we tend to be a little heavier in the bottom area. When we sit, it can be wider, okay? Men tend to have more narrow seat just because of our body composition. So I'm eyeballing, I'm gonna stand in front. For widest point here, widest point here, which is like 15 plus 2. So why do you think I add 2?
So that she's comfortable. Her seat, there's space.
Comfort, shifts her weight,
Transfer.
has a lot to do with how often you get a wheelchair. So you said 5 years. We are leaving room for growth. The main reason is we don't want your hips to be brushing on any pieces of metal or plastic, because if you're insensate, that's going to cause sores there. Statistically, if people start using a wheelchair, especially long-term users, they are at high risk of gaining weight, just because their lifestyle has changed completely from walking and active to, you're not supposed to say, but wheelchair bound, essentially. So people tend to gain weight, and if you gain weight and you can't get another wheelchair for 5 years, you're in trouble. So you try to leave that little bit of extra room, okay? So you were 15 plus 2, that would be 17. Seat depth. Seat depth is the back of the knee to the back of the pelvis minus 2. I'm gonna do it on that side of the video. And for this, you can take the armrest off, that helps me. And then can you scoot forward, excuse me, just a little bit. So back of the knee, essentially the same spot of the posterior thigh. To the back of the pelvis, scoot forward a little bit more. Essentially back of the pelvis is the last point of her body that I would see. So it's usually like back of your butt, if you want to say that. Again, a nice straight line, I'm eyeballing, it's about 19 inches. And for that, I'm subtracting 2. Why do you think I subtract 2?
Or legs can hang over.
Legs, so it has to do with that, more specific, so I'm worried about here.
Oh, so that the chair doesn't run
Correct.
the crease.
Correct. I don't want this constant, if she's insensate, again, this is, all of these are really surrounded by, it's all about skin. Skin integrity, skin rubbing, because most of the people that are using these are gonna have impaired or no sensation, and long-term use is just gonna cause skin breakdown. So you don't want it constantly rubbing on the back of the knee. Very good. Okay, back height. Let's save that for the end because I'm going to spin you around. What do we have next? Leg length. Seat surface to the foot plate or floor. Competencies, I'm just taking those off completely, so it's going to be the floor. So leg length is seat surface to the floor. Okay. What is that the same measurement as? Correct. I'm going to ask you that in your competency. What is the same and what is the difference between the two?
You add 2 for the one.
I add 2. I add 2 to the seat height, the leg length, I don't. It's just the measurement.
So, is this a situation where like you're fitting her for a wheelchair and you can see how high the seat is?
Correct.
And what needs changed to would be her leg height plus?
Yes, so you might do that measurement once and say, okay, I got 19 for leg length. Now I know that the seat height is going to be 21 because you add 2 to the same measurement, okay? So you can get a 2 for in one measurement. Okay, this one, arm height is seat to elbow with the arm positioned like this. So you want a nice neutral shoulder, not elevated or depressed. You want the elbow bent, flexed to 90 degrees, the forearm pronated, okay? From that position, you have to do this because I will ask you to do this. I will ask you each joint where it's supposed to be. I'm going to do elbow, it's awkward, so I should take the armrest off to do it, to the seat. Okay. So that is 7, and I add 1. Adding 1 is just so you have like a little bit of support. You don't want like to, like resting is not resting if you have to like reach down to rest your arm on the armrest, okay? Can I just spin you a little bit? You take that break off, I'm gonna, so they can see me do your scapula. Okay, so the last one is the back height, and this is just for a standard back height. So a lot of lightweight wheelchairs will have low back, and that's where they have more freedom to like propel fast. Standard back height measurement would be seat to the inferior angle of the scapula, okay? So if you can scooch forward just a little bit, and do you mind if I move your hair? And you see your scapula. So if you have a hard time, I don't know how everyone did in anatomy, but if you have a hard time finding the inferior angle, have the person reach back. So I'll say like, reach back like you're gonna unhook your bra. Can you do that? And then I can almost instantly find it from there. That's the way I do it. Perfect. You can go ahead and put your arm back. Now that I have it, I'm going to take that measurement from here to the seat where she's sitting. And that is, can't see, 17. Okay? Any questions for that? So that is one of the choices for the competency sitting in the wheelchair. Now we're going to, and I do it this way because I have a very hard time